I'm working as a developer in SAP Cloud ALM in the solution documentation team, and besides this, I'm also working together within co-innovation and providing some GenAI features for the colleagues to help reducing manual tasks when creating requirements.
And maybe just some sentences on this co-innovation. So what we try to do is, yes, we want to invest in GenAI features in Cloud ALM, and we have many ideas. In product management, we get ideas from customers, we get ideas from partners. But we need to define really the use cases that really bring value. Yeah? Not just that, it's nice to see for demos. So that's why we started the co-innovation with All-for-One. We know they use the tool quite extensively already in project. They have, on many ALM summits they presented with customers, and now they're doing their own SAP implementation. So basically their own customer, and we can use then also a little bit some of the data to play around, because that's sometimes the hard part for such a use case, to get the right data, play around, and really find the use cases that are worth investing more. And everything that you see right now is still a POC. Yeah, commercialization will come next year, but it's definitely, I think, one of the use cases that we will bring out. It's really useful. However, at the end of the session, we have some more use cases, so stay tuned here. And also think about your own ideas. We had yesterday a small influence session where we got really great ideas just talking to you guys. And we see that you have the right use cases in your head. We have the tools, so now we have to combine it. And this is the first kind of showcase for this. But now I give over. Gabriel, please run the show.
Thank you. Yeah, we already introduced ourselves, so maybe let's quickly switch to our company. What we are doing is we are implementing SAP, but we want to help our customers to get their digital transformation done. So we are not only focusing on S/4HANA public cloud implementations, but also for private cloud and, for example, Microsoft and IBM consulting. Sinja already explained the problem and where we are coming from, and to give you a better understanding, is that we often have in projects the problem that requirements are not created with good quality. For example, someone who is not experienced in creating requirements, explaining technical stuff, etc. We don't have the quality that we need in a later stage. And if we don't have the quality in the beginning, we get in later project stages problems. And this is why we thought about the co-innovation and how GenAI can help us to get these problems done. And what you need to know is how public cloud implementation are working. We had already a session yesterday where Sinja explained what is happening in the beginning of the project. For example, in the discover phase, we are doing together with the customer a DDA workshop where we are discussing the processes the customer needs. And this is also the starting point for our projects, where we create in Cloud ALM a new project and upload the scope items into Cloud ALM. So at this stage, we already know, okay, we go into this implementation project and we have around 120 scope items that we have to discuss with the customer. And then our experts are planning the fit to standard workshops. So they, for example, planning 3 or 5 workshops per line of business. And then they pick 3 scope items out of the total scope per line of business. And then they run the fit to standard workshops. So they send invites, normal invites via Microsoft Teams, and then they are recording the sessions. And for example, they are activating also Microsoft Copilot, the transcription. And out of these workshops, or at the end, we get a few requirements that have to get somehow into Cloud ALM. And this is where often the problems start, that not all requirements are collected or that they are not described very well. And this is where the GenAI comes in place, and hopefully it will help us to create them with a better, higher quality. And this will be demoed now by Sona and Sven.
Should I take
Yeah, okay. So what we did is we took the transcripts of the meetings because we figured we have all the information and everything was discussed in the workshop. So why don't we just use this information? And we have 3-4 hour workshops, and I think one transcript, I don't know how many pages it had, like over 80 pages of transcript. And you all know the quality of the transcript in Microsoft Teams, maybe, or in other tools. It doesn't understand everything, and the workshop is in German. You use English words, and then it gets mixed up. So we were not so, we didn't know how good the quality was going to be when we used this transcript to generate requirements. But that was the starting point where we handed over the transcript to our colleagues from SAP. And Sven used it to build something beautiful.
Yes, thanks. So with that, I can switch to the live demo now. And for that, I'm showing you my screen. If it is working. Oh, okay, yeah, I forget. Now it should work, right? Okay. We are now here in a new SAP Cloud ALM project. It's called Demo Project, and here we have 2 scopes created. Yeah, this is really the scopes the colleagues created during these Fit to Standard workshops, or just before this Fit to Standard workshops. And here, for example, in the first scope, professional service, we have here 4 solution processes scoped. Yeah? And now let's imagine that we have a new application within SAP Cloud ALM where you can upload these meeting transcripts. And now imagine we would have already done this and uploaded this meeting transcript into SAP Cloud ALM. And now we can use a new application we provided during this co-innovation where you can just select again this context, so the SAP Cloud ALM context, here in this case the demo project, and for example the professional service scope. And then we, for example, choose the time recording J12 solution process. Now, once again, we already had this Fit to Standard workshop and we uploaded this transcript. And during this meeting, we just make some minutes which requirements we want to create after this meeting. Just the title of the requirements. And now I can here put in the title, like Standard-Zeitnahme für Zeiterfassung einstellen. So as you can see, this Fit to Standard workshop was held in German language, and therefore we also want to create these requirements in German language, but this use case is not limited to any language. Yeah? It's just an example, it's a proof of concept, and you can see in a minute the idea how easy it is to generate requirements with this approach, whatever language. Yeah. And then we select a requirement template. And as you probably all know, when you're creating new requirements in the SAP Cloud ALM application, you can create new requirements and mark them as templates. Yeah? And we already did this before, and we can start here with the All-for-One requirement demo template. And on the left side, you have some additional information just to showcase the use case in more detail. And here you can see again the requirement we prepared up front. Yeah? As you can see, It starts with an overall context section where you describe the project, scope, solution process. Then the description of the situation, so what was discussed during this Fit to Standard workshop meeting. And then there are more specific sections like, is this possible in SAP standard? If not, is there a workaround? Describe the possible solutions and so on. And then also reasons why no SAP solution standard is possible. Yeah? That's a requirement template the colleagues created, but you can use any requirement template you want. Yeah? It's up to you, and we can see later, we can easily change it and create new requirements with adopted requirement templates. But before that, of course, we want to generate these requirements, and you want to see it. And therefore, I click now on the Create Requirement button. And as you can see, it's starting generating. Yeah? And in the background, we have a lot of context, which we collected, like the Fit to Standard meeting transcript, of course, the title of the newly created requirement, the requirement we want to create, we want to generate, and of course, some more SAP Cloud ALM context, like project description. Yeah, of course, we can think of team members, team roles. We have the scope description, solution processes. All the content is already within SAP Cloud ALM, and this is taken into account, and together it's all put in the prompt of this call to the large language model. Yeah? And we started with a very basic approach, and then we give, with the feedback from the All-for-One colleagues, we improved this prompt, we improved the approach, and now we have a kind of first version where we think the quality is good enough for a proof of concept. And in this approach, we make one call to a large language model for each section in the requirement template. And therefore, you could see it started with the first section, the context is now filled, then we have the description of the situation, we have the decision if this is possible in SAP standard, still everything in German language, so sorry for that, but we need to start, and we started therefore with the Fit to Standard workshop in German. And now we are here at one of the last steps. We are still generating the next section, and in this case, it's the reason why no SAP standard is possible. Yeah, it takes probably 1 more minute, and as you can see, it's really strict, dependent on the use case, on the requirement template you created up front. Yeah, you can remove some section, then it's of course quicker because you only want to generate the text for 2 or 3 sections. In this use case, we used a requirement which is very detailed, and therefore, after some time now, we have a fully generated description of a newly created requirement. And in addition, as this is also an obvious GenAI use case, we want to propose some tags. Yeah? We also uploaded the tags All-for-One uses during this project with the customers. We uploaded this to the SAP Cloud ALM tenant, and now we ask the large language model, give me 3 tags which are similar to the description of the requirement. And these 3 tags are here proposed, as you can see. And when I now switch back to my SAP Cloud ALM tenant, you can still see the requirement templates we created up front. And now I only need to refresh. Ah, it's already there, okay. You can see there's one new created requirement. It's the last one. It's the requirement we just generated with the large language model. And this is directly integrated in the SAP Cloud ALM tenant, and it's now saved here. And also all the context, like the project, the scope, the solution scenario we selected up front is here already integrated and linked. And of course also the tags we proposed. Yeah? And this is the current status of this proof of concept. And now if you want, we can of course also adapt this requirement template, only that you have a better overview how fast and adaptable it is in the end. Yeah? And with that we can...
Yeah, from user point of view, I have to say that was the biggest benefit for us, because we have a link to this large language model via the template, which we can create. We can adapt or add more of them. And during the proof of concept or the co-innovation, we could just play around. We could change the template. And you have to understand that the template also works as a prompt. So if you want to add formatting and you say, please create a table where you put the acceptance criteria, then it creates also a table. So you can add additional prompting besides the big prompt.
Yeah, that's completely true. And let's do this together now. If we just use the template we use for the first requirement generation, now we click here on Edit. And yeah, let's say we just want to delete all this SAP standard things and want to add here a possible acceptance criteria, a new section where we want to describe this criteria and in addition have a prompt to have a table format in the end, exactly what Sona described. And with that we can now save and close this requirement template, switch back to our application, maybe only some more words to why this is not already included in SAP Cloud ALM, because this is probably one of your questions. We started in the co-innovation and just to have the feedback as soon as possible. Yeah? We want to provide this already in this status where we say, okay, we have a first version and we want the feedback to improve this use case. And therefore we have a dedicated app besides the SAP Cloud ALM, but it's already integrated with this dedicated tenant we also created for this co-innovation. Yeah? And later on we can think of how can this be integrated in the SAP Cloud ALM application. Yeah? But now again, so just let me restart the app and here select again our demo project. And what I not mentioned yet is that we have also some other data sources, like for example the SAP help documentation. Of course you can all imagine this SAP help documentation, best practices, the knowledge base articles, all this kind of documentation could be helpful for describing the requirement in more detail. And therefore we of course want to integrate it in the prompt to have also this context and say, okay, together with the SAP help documentation and the best practices, the quality of this requirement description is even better than just without what we discussed in the Fit to Standard meeting. Yeah? And now we enable this SAP help documentation, and here from a technical perspective we have here a document grounding service from BTP enabled, yeah, which is already available internally. And we select again the professional service, we select again the, for example, we can choose another one, but let's stick to this time recording, as you maybe already have learned this in German now. And we can again fill in the Title Standard Zeitintervall für Zeiterfassung einstellen. And now we take our new demo template, so this adapted demo template, and as you can see, it's here the updated version. Yeah? The new requirement template with this acceptance criteria at the end. Now I click on Create Requirement again, and it's a bit faster. In the meantime, we can also check what is here in additional printed out, and you can see here, for example, the retrieval augmented generation search, yeah, to speak a bit more from technical perspective, has found 4 relevant text chunks. So it searches the Fit to Standard meeting transcript and found to this requirement 4 solutions for text chunks which are relevant to fill the description. And also what's maybe more interesting for you, it also found 2 relevant documents from the SAP Help portal, which is now already also included in this requirement description. And as you can see here, in the context, we already have direct links to this SAP Help documentation. Yeah, and this could be very helpful for this requirement description to directly have these links, click on the links and even have more information about what was discussed and how to solve this. Okay, and of course also the our latest update, so the acceptance criteria is now here filled and generated with text. And let's see what is the output, because we even have this table format. And as you can see here, this is now maybe a bit due to the dedicated application. It's HTML printed out. Yeah, it's not that good in this use case, but when I switch in 1 minute back to the SAP Cloud ALM tenant, you can see that it's formatted then in the text of the requirement description. Yeah, and we even have in this requirement template the prompt to have an English translation. Yeah, we even tested that, and you can see now that it's already translated in English language. And I can switch back, load again, and we should have one new requirement. Here it is, and you can see here. It's not still room for improvement, to be honest.
It's a table.
But it's a live demo, and you can see here it's the HTML format translated into this description, and I'm not zooming in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but here you can see it's still the HTML format, but it's an HTML table, yeah, exactly what we want. And that's kind of prompt engineering, yeah, to find also the best requirement template, yeah, to really have your desired output in this requirement description. And this is also part of the co-innovation. This is what we are doing right now, yeah, with the feedback from the All-for-One colleagues, to really have the knowledge what is working quite well at the moment and where is a lot of room for improvement when we think of additional SAP documentation like best practices, Activate, and so on. Yeah. Okay, with that, this was all from my side, and I would just switch back to these slides, and of course, later on we also have time for Q&A. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe just some lessons learned from the co-innovation. Yeah, we had some technical challenges, let's say due to legal issues. You can imagine that we are giving our transcripts with all the names of the participants to SAP, so we had to manually anonymize those transcripts, which was a lot of work because there were some legal issues which we had to to solve, and in that way we couldn't use this this environment, so we sent Excel downloads and we received Excel downloads and we checked is the quality getting better or not. So it was only, let's say, show and tell, and we couldn't test hands-on. I think on Monday we got the access to the system. Yeah, and as you all know, when you play around with ChatGPT or other LLMs, the more information the large language model has, the better the results are. You need a lot of iterations to get better responses. Yeah, and since we now have hands-on possibilities, we generate more and more ideas, and that's why we should, I think, focus on this use case and bring it to to production, so to say. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. This was just the first insight. Please stay here for questions. Yeah, again, we also learned a little bit, they learned, and maybe just to highlight a little bit, again, this just got us more thinking, okay, now we have good requirements. The next use case that we have in mind is actually quite around the corner, because when you have requirements, you need to solve them. And here, you maybe heard it yesterday with the SAP, I think it's consulting for Joule for consultants, or the official name was otherwise around. Anyway, so there is plans to provide a Joule for consultants that helps you to find all the relevant information in the different sources. So it's not only a help, it's not only the SSCUIs, knowledge articles, but it even goes beyond. So they are currently getting all the data in from the communities, from everything that SAP has to offer in terms of knowledge. And this helps then in the next step, that will probably be one of the next use cases where we say, okay, let's, based on the requirement, generate some proposed user stories that come out of the requirement to best solve it, close to clean core, very important, and this directly coming out of the GenAI as a starting point. For sure, we don't want to, we need the consultants there. You need to validate. You probably saw this in the requirement. You cannot just take it one by one. It's a good starting point. You have to validate, and you need to maybe update it a little bit. But again, this is the next use case we will also look into. Another one that we have investigated, Sven is working on it, is extracting data from Cloud ALM. We have so much information there on, again, the project, the scope, the processes, process descriptions, we have requirements descriptions, etc. And now it's just a question of maybe you need a Word document, like a scope document that gives you everything in a predefined table of contents. So to make sure, you have an extraction and you have it maybe somewhere saved, a scope document that you can maybe sign also. But there are many use cases. Maybe even using Joule then to ask questions about the project. Mega will show this in a minute. And this goes maybe now to the first Joule use case. Mega, do you want to show us and give us some insights on this, if we have time? Oh, that's the wrong slide. I'm sorry. Can you still do it? I think that's the use. Yeah, please come here.
Hi. So this is the POC that my team has done. So what they have done is they have integrated the digital assistance called Joule into the overview page in SAP Cloud ALM. And it uses the analytics database and gives you the answers of your questions. So what it can do is it can give you the information. So there is information search available. It can give you the guided analysis of your project. So you can ask ad hoc questions. You can ask about creating some charts. And so since analytics database has access to all other capabilities, we make use of it and then also can answer the questions that you have for, let's say, which are the processes that are scoped for, let's say, lead to cash. So it can give you those answers. So basically, this is just the POC that we have done. And now I will go back to the use case for which we did this POC. So maybe we can just, So the problem we heard from you was that our project leads currently spend on an average 2 to 3 hours of time to prepare the project reports for their steering co meetings, to present it to the management, or for the team meetings. And it also involves a lot of human errors because we have currently a lot of applications and they need to go from one to another, and that can cause human errors. So sometimes the project is wrongly selected, sometimes the scope is wrongly selected, sometimes something else happens. So what they currently do is most of them, they take the numbers from our applications and they feed into their own templates that they have. So every organization have their own template where they need to produce certain weekly or bi-weekly results of their ongoing implementation. Could be also for the budget planning or something like that. So the problem, the challenge that we have was that we cannot offer a generic report generation here. So because we cannot standardize a report which could be used in the various organizations. So that gave us an idea to offer an AI assistant who can actually answer all the specific questions that they have or that they need for their reports. And the next steps after the POC where we want to go, maybe we have the slide here or no, not there, but what we want to do next is that we want to offer creation of the template. So the set of questions can be asked and stored as a template. And from this template, it just will be available as a prompt. And every time you come here for your steering co-meetings, you can just generate a management summary report with a click. And it will give you the numbers, and you can also download it as PDF or email it, schedule it. So all of this is planned with this, but this is just a demo of the POC, and I would also like to call out for a co-innovation option here. So we have an opportunity to test it and train this model and for the quality assurance. If anybody of you are interested, we would be happy to work with you. So that was the message I wanted to bring here. Thanks, Inge.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Mega. Sorry, I have the older version of your slides in here because we had it to upload. Yeah, so you see many ideas. You probably just got thinking of ideas how GenAI could help in your projects or in your current situation. But now I would take the chance and ask for questions. Maybe, to these guys who really started to work with this. And I see the first question here. Please. Can I come around with this one? Oh, it's not peeking. And I would do the...
Yes, thank you very much. There's just a big question that I have, which is, so I'm a test manager, and we like to catch errors and bugs early, right? So when you transcribe these requirements from the customer into a requirement, right? You have right here setting prone to risk of human errors, right? Which is correct. We're all infallible. However, GenAI is known to hallucinate data, which can be even more erroneous because it's making up fake data that might not even exist. Is this something you've addressed in your solution? Is there perhaps even a second AI that compares the transcript to the requirement? How do you do to mitigate this data hallucination? Thank you.
A very good question. So first of all, the big answer is we use retrieval augmented generation. So this heavily reduces this hallucination problem. Yeah? It still exists, of course, but with this retrieval augmented generation, we search through this transcript, the fit to standard meeting transcript, and only try to take into the context what was really discussed during this meeting transcript, with this RAG approach. Retrieval augmented generation approach. Together with increasing the context, including SAP help documentation and later on more and more SAP content, it also reduces the hallucination. And then, of course, we need a testing approach, automated testing to evaluate this generated requirements, and therefore we of course need a test set together with All-for-One, the co-innovation. This is very important to have this feedback so early, and then we can also create this test set and run this automated tests. And there's one approach how we can test it by evaluating with additional large language model. That's exactly what you asked, right? And there we can say, okay, this output and this input, and now another large language model is asked, how good fits in context to answer relevance, in context to what was found in the SAP help documentation and so on. But that's totally right, and we heavily working on this also centrally, and together with the BTP GenAI Hub, there's also more and more features which are already delivered and in the next weeks and months. And there are more and more services which makes it easier for all the consumer because we are consumer of of the BTP GenAI hub, and with that it's getting better and better. But the problem exists, and we need to solve this problem with testing approaches and of course manual testing, but in the end also automatically testing, and reducing this problem.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Great demo, Sven, and I think I followed that the timestamp was a live demo. It was not just a good video. So kudos to that, and I'm really. When I see this is also a great incentive to use Cloud ALM, because you can only do this with the data inside. So you Excel's outside around, you can do a lot of stuff, but this is for the customers really a good incentive to use it, and also for us partners to put it into the data in here. But what I see here was really great, but sometimes, garbage in, garbage out. So my question is, and I have been to a lot of Teams meetings, I have seen a lot. So the discipline on the meeting, so I think one person at a time speaking. I think also you might also have something. Now we are talking about this context. Which context is it right, or how much fake is in the back end here?
No fake at all.
No fake at all. And what I said in the beginning is we are starting with a fixed agenda, and when we start talking or discussing about a certain scope item, someone will starting with, okay, now let's discuss scope item J12 time recording, and we are running through the process, and that's the point where we get the information into the transcript.
That's also why we did not just give me a list of all the requirements. I think that was our first idea, and then they came too detailed or too high level. And that's why we said, well, you anyway have a list of requirements or topics you discuss, so give this as a starting point and fill the content. That was much more productive and useful than just give me requirements that we discussed, right? That was the first.
But as you said, there's sometimes a lot of garbage, so at the beginning, when someone started the recording, we had transcribed that someone died, and so you have to be careful, and you have to look over the transcript and check the information.
Okay. More questions? Yeah.
I mean, I understand this is a very early proof of concept type of thing, but I'm interested in the architecture here a little bit, and maybe also what it means for the customer in a later stage, because we've seen the CTMS first being available on Cloud ALM BTP. Now it has switched that the recommendation is CTMS should be used on the global account BTP side. Here we talk about that AI services are utilized, connected with Cloud ALM. And where are these then located? Will they be on the BTP side and maybe be included in the usage rights of Cloud ALM, or will they have to be provided outside?
A lot of questions, but I think I get the point. Yeah.
When Cloud ALM is evolving, getting more and more features, of course, we would want to know how much more costs will we have as customers.
So, of course, AI features are then coming with this metering approach. So I'm not sure if this is publicly known already, and it's still in discussion. So I maybe cannot say too much about it. But of course, this features, and when we are talking about large language model, it always comes with cost. That's clear. But what I mean with this BTP services and AI services, it's only internally. Yeah? So I only want to highlight that in the co-innovation, we do not need to tackle all the problems we have with large language models, like hallucination, anonymization, and so on, because this is already centrally solved by BTP GenAI Hub. Yeah? And this can then be used internally for these kind of features. And in the end, when it's integrated in an own tile, a button, whatever, I'm not sure, it's still in discussion. And then internally we use our own BTP services, yeah, which are partly already available, but this is nothing the customer has to.
So the plan is as follows, right? And this we explicitly excluded it from the keynotes because, unfortunately, as you said, right, we are always looking at the commercialization concepts of Joule, and every 3 weeks there is a new paper, and the previous paper is completely different than the new one. We decided that, I mean, we have classic AI, this is all about GenAI, but the classic AI use cases that are today in Cloud ALM are included in your enterprise support license. Yeah? So that for this, everything that you saw about this operational stuff that Janko has shown with the dynamic thresholding, for that you don't pay extra. Yeah? The calls to BTP AI are not very cheap. Yeah? Janko mentioned it, there's a reason why it's called diamond, was a diamond there, right? And therefore the plan is, it's very similar when you call other BTP services like the document management service or the workflow, right? That you use your either BTP units, yeah, or in this case now the AI units, so there will be AI units by SAP provided, which you have to buy. It's like you cash up your stock, right? And then basically we deduct from that stock that you bought previously, yeah. We are not working differently than all the other AI use cases that are embedded in application. We will use exactly the same concept, yeah. But unfortunately, I have to tell you that the GenAI use case, especially what you have just seen, yeah, will basically have to be paid by you, yeah, by the customer, through the normal AI, GenAI costs that apply for that service that is called here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for jumping in, Mark, because again, it's really hard to be on top of what's currently the latest model for the GenAI feature. But again, this is an early insight into what we're planning to do to get some ideas generating. We have the customer council where we discuss also these ideas. If you want to join, send me an email. And again, I think that's an exciting journey. So I would really thank the guys coming here, showing really deep insights into our co-innovation, and yeah, that's your applause.